From the beautiful Finger Lakes region of upstate New York, this is the Dental Lighthouse Podcast. We take questions from anyone in the dental profession and discuss what it takes to win not only in dentistry, but in life. Business, leadership, relationships, parenting, health and wellness, money management, nothing is off limits on the Dental Lighthouse Podcast. I'm Jason Tenori, your host, and have over 20 years of experience to pull from. Learn from my mistakes and let me help you collapse time so you can become the best version of yourself. Yo, Dr. Jason here, Dental Lighthouse Podcast. It is a Thursday morning. What's going on in my life? Had some blood work done today. Trying some new supplements and peptides. I wanted to get a baseline on where my blood markers are. Got a lot of cool things going on in the organization. That's been kind of consuming me this morning. But right now, what I would like to talk to you about is the idea of recording every single meeting that you have, recording team meetings, department meetings, one-on-one meetings, informal one-on-ones, formal one-on-ones, everything, just recording everything. And I recommend this a lot to my one-on-one clients and the young men and women in the coaching group. And a lot of times I'll get email and text messages from listeners about, why do I feel so strongly about this and how do I do it and stuff like that. So I thought it'd be cool to unpack the why and the how. As you guys know, anytime we're going to implement change with our teams, we absolutely have to communicate the why. Otherwise, they just think that you're giving them extra work to do. But if you have a crystal clear why and it makes sense, then change is good. So why, right? So why do I feel that moving to recording everything is in your best interest? Well, we've been doing it for a couple of years now. And there's a list of reasons why. So the first is perception versus reality. I first started to come to this realization when I would be sitting in on leadership meetings, or even when I was the assistant lead at my flagship, because we were trying to find a great assistant lead. I was recently the hygiene lead in our flagship until we had just an absolute rock star take over the hygiene team. And I would be facilitating the meeting, and we would have someone as the note taker or the minutes taker, whatever you want to call it. Which is great. You need that, right? You need to have a recording, some recording of the meeting. So we would have this be done manually by a person. And don't get me wrong, this person did actually a really good job of recording everything via their shorthand and taking notes and stuff like that. But when I would go back to review the notes, there were so many things in there that I had perceived very, very differently than the person that was taking the notes had perceived. And no right or wrong, but their perception was skewing how the meeting went, or their perception was skewing how people reacted to certain parts of the conversation. And that's when I started to think, like, there's got to be a better way. How do we take the subjectivity out of how the meeting went, right? So that's when I started thinking about this. The other reason that we decided to go full tilt on recording meetings is, and I think I talked about this on a few other podcasts, but we had an employee a couple of years ago, young dental assistant in one of our offices, who was struggling, right? And I feel like our onboarding is fairly dialed in. It's typically 90 days. And as you guys know, we like to, for the first 2 weeks of that 90 days, we like to do like a 5-minute check-in at the end of every day. So what went well, what didn't go well, maybe show them some praise for accomplishing something or learning a task or what have you, maybe give them some honest feedback on what they need to work on. So 5 minutes at the end of every day for the first 2 weeks. And then for all 90 days on a weekly basis, we have a more formal 15-minute sit down. And in that weekly sit down with a new employee, we're really trying to be honest with them on what they're doing well and what they're not doing well. So I was a couple layers removed from this person getting trained, but I was getting reports at our organizational leadership meeting that she was struggling, right? I would have doctors reach out to me, so and so is really not getting it. She needs more coaching. She needs to, more competence, you name it. So we would then reach out to the person that was directly responsible for training and having the weeklies with this person and say, make sure that you remind Mary, dot, dot, dot. Make sure that your focus with Mary this week is dot, dot, dot. Make sure Mary understands that we're getting to the point that we're going to let her go unless she can start to accomplish X, Y, and Z. And the person that was responsible for these weeklies was like, "Yep, I'm having these conversations with her. She fully understands kind of where we're at." So fast forward we're getting close to the end of the 90 days. Let's say it's 80 days, and I'm just continually getting this feedback from the doctors that work with this assistant. So we're like, okay, we've coached her up, we've given her crystal clear feedback, and it's not working out. It's time to let her go. So we terminate her. And then a couple days later, I don't know how she got my phone number, but she asks for me to call her, which I'm like, okay, absolutely. So I give her a call and she thanked me for the opportunity and what have you. But she's like, Jason, I felt completely blindsided by my termination. I thought I was doing really well. No one had given me any feedback to suggest that I wasn't doing really well. Now they would say, you need to tweak this a little bit or you need to tweak that a little bit. But all in all, I felt like I was growing every week. And then just out of nowhere, um, I get terminated. And you guys have heard me say this before, but one of the principles that I've learned from Lencioni is absolutely never should someone be surprised by a termination. So, this is a win or learn opportunity. Obviously, this isn't a winning opportunity. So what can I learn from it? So I'd go back to the people that were in charge of training her and in charge of the weeklies and say, hey, Mary called me and we spoke for a half hour and this is some of the feedback she gave me. And the person that was training her and responsible for doing the weekly is like, no, no, no. I was very clear about what she needed to do. And the question then becomes, is it this person's perception that they were really clear? We all know we've all been in these situations, especially as we're trying to develop our leadership muscle, that we might have all the best intentions about going into the storm and having an uncomfortable conversation, only to get into that situation and start to draw back a little bit, or maybe start to sugarcoat things a little bit, or maybe start to dismiss how important some of these talking points are. Um, and I suspect that's what was occurring here. And again, not pointing any fingers because it's really hard to give honest and sincere feedback and not sugarcoat it and not be dismissive about it. So that was the second reason that we started going to recording all of these meetings because I can now listen to the one-on-one, the weekly one-on-one, the monthly one-on-one, and I can say to that aspiring leader, trainer, hey, at this point in the conversation, you should not have deflected. You should have kind of gone even deeper and double down on being honest with this person. Double down on letting them know that they're not meeting your expectations. Now you can do that empathetically, but if you don't do it, if you kind of skirt the issue or circle around the issue, then you're not serving anyone. And my team knows that the only person you're kind of serving is yourself because you can choose to not stretch yourself by not having to have that conversation. So my concern was that these into the storm conversations, these weekly check-ins where we needed to give someone really sincere, positive feedback that they're not meeting our expectations, was not coming across the right way. So that's another reason that we record these things. Okay, so the first two reasons are perception versus reality. Um, Sitting in a meeting, what really happened versus the perception of the note taker, right? And then the second thing is helping coach up my leaders on one-on-one conversations, right? Where they think they were able to get the point across. But the reality is they were extremely far from it. And the situation I just gave with this example of Mary, where her being surprised that she was terminated, um, I think checks that box. The next reason that I think recording everything is a really, really good idea is as some of us go to 5 days a week, as some of us go to split scheduling or 12-hour days, as some of us start to do everything we can just to find good people and sometimes hire part-time help, there's no possible way that everyone's going to be present for your meetings. So when you are having a key person not present for a meeting, it can really put a damper in communication, and it can really put a damper in overall teamwork and overall team calibration. So when you move to recording all of the meetings, and we'll get into how to do that here in a little bit, you can then at the very end of the meeting say, okay, Julie wasn't here, and Julie doesn't need to sit and listen to this entire recording, but the parts of the conversation where we talked about um, the calibration with periodontal diagnosis or with clinical to administrative handoffs, we really need to have Julie listen to those sections of the meeting. So please create an action item for Julie to listen to those sections of the meeting and report back to Jason when she does. Like, so now this is an action item, right? So you know it'll get done. And we'll talk about that here in a few minutes. Um, which leads me to the final reason. There's multiple reasons, but these are the top four um, of recording meetings, is because it does generate a very black and white list of action items. And again, we'll talk about how in a few minutes, but how many times have we been in meetings where you commit to something and then forget, or someone else commits to something and it completely escapes their mind, not intentionally. No one's committing to something with the intention of never doing it, but we're all busy. Life is chaotic. And when you get asked to do something or when you volunteer to do something and there's no track record of you committing to doing that or you being asked to do that, then the likelihood of it getting done just goes down. It is what it is. It's a reality of life. So when you have these meetings recorded, it can generate very black and white action items, which actually helps shit get done, right? Okay, so those are the four main reasons why we go to recording everything. Again, it's perception versus reality of the note taker. You know, if you have a human taking notes, their perception is being skewed in the notes on how the meeting's going. The second reason is it gives you an awesome opportunity to grow leaders that need to have uncomfortable conversations. And when you can listen to the recording, you can give that leader feedback. Okay, you were very, very good about delivering this, or you really skirted the issue. And to be honest with you, I'm more confused than ever based on what you said, right? So that what an amazing growth opportunity. More part-time people are not available. So having this recording can help if someone's not in on the meeting, even if someone's not supposed to be at the meeting. There have been a number of times where I've done recorded one-on-ones with my doctors, and we'll start to unpack something that I really want the office manager of that particular office the doctor works in to listen to. So I will say, hey, doc, I am so glad you're bringing this up, and I'm so glad that we're discussing ways to get through this. With your permission, can I share this 10 or 15-minute part of the recording with your office manager? And they're like, yeah, absolutely. So instead of me now trying to verbally communicate that part of the conversation, instead of me putting my perception on that part of the conversation, I just send that part of the recording to the office manager and they can hear it for themselves and form their own opinion instead of having my skewed perception be the one that's communicating to it. And then finally, action items getting created. So there's a lot of really good reasons to do this. So first off, so that's the why, right? Now let's talk about the how. If this is something that you're interested in, how do you do it? Well, the first thing you need to do is get permission, right? And then depending on the state that you're in, will dictate on what level of permission that you need to get. So when I'm doing one-on-ones, um, I'm saying, hey, Doc, just so you're aware, I'm recording this conversation, right? So I'm putting it out there and I'm telling them that I'm recording this. In some states, and I've coaching clients in some of these states, so this is how I know it came up. It needs to be a two-person conversation. It needs to be the, let's call it leader of the meeting saying, hey, we're recording this. And then the other person saying, okay, I understand that we're recording this, right? So first off, get permission, right? Secondly, realize that you can pretty much use any recording media out there. So it could be Zoom if you're doing a team meeting or a one-on-one virtually. It can be in person via like a voice memo recording app on your phone. It can be via phone, where I know on the iPhone phones now you can record just with a click of a button. Before that feature came out, I was using an app called Rev, I believe, but there's hundreds of them out there, right? Just find the one that works for you. So there's really no excuse to not record. It can be, typically Zoom, Teams. If you're going to do something virtually, it can be in person with your phone. Just hit record on the voice memo app, or it can be, if it's going to be via phone, you're doing a phone call, check-in, phone call one-on-one. It can be via some of these apps. Or if you have an iPhone, or I'm sure if you have an Android phone too, there's a button on there that just says, okay, this call is going to be recorded. So you get permission. Now you know how you're going to be doing it in terms of the mechanism of recording. Um, and then what we do is we typically take those notes and we upload them to some type of AI software. Now I'm sure there's dozens of them out there that work really well. We use Fireflies. And the only reason we use Fireflies is because we've used Fireflies from day one and it makes sense. So we have our Fireflies accounts set up in a way where, only specific people can have access to the recordings, right? So, for example, if I have an office manager doing one-on-ones, I want that recording to be accessible for the office manager and for the treatment coordinator she's doing the one-on-ones with, but I don't want the rest of the team to have access to that, right? So there's some subtle nuances there, but you want to make sure that privacy is being maintained. So when you upload the recording to the one-on-one, any type of AI software will summarize the call for you. They'll typically timestamp each section, right? So maybe the first 5 minutes is good news. Maybe the next 10 minutes is getting into the discussion on the confirmation protocol. And the third 10 minutes is you reviewed the scorecard, whatever it is, right? So it's timestamped in the AI software. And then at the end of the summary, we'll give specific action items and a person assigned to those action items. So if I committed in a meeting to sending Dr. Ryan the most updated periodontal calibration protocol, then now I'm on the hook for that because it's in writing, right? So what we do with that summary is we copy and paste it to a Google Doc. And I love Google Docs. It's a living, breathing document. And we pin that Google Doc somewhere that everyone has access to. We use Slack. So we would pin it to the channel on Slack. You can pin it in GroupMe. If that's how you guys communicate, you can pin it on your server, do whatever you need to do. Um, and then finally, in terms of the how, if you have a really good meeting agenda, then one of the first things that you should be doing for the following meeting is making sure that the action items that were generated from the previous meeting are actually being executed. And once you do this, you'll really start to see or begin, if you haven't already, gain traction on getting shit done. So, that's I don't know, what does this take? 20 minutes? That's my 20-minute version on why we record everything and how we record everything. I think it would be advantageous for you to at least consider it. I have found it wildly beneficial for myself to keep myself accountable for action items, and more importantly, to be able to listen to other leaders in my organization, do one-on-ones or run meetings, and give them feedback on how I think they're doing really well, or or what little tweaks I think they can make in an effort to take their game from good to great. So thank you guys. As always, if you have any questions or concerns, don't hesitate to reach out to me. I'm at all my contact information's on thedentallighthouse.com. You can call or email me. And again, if this is an episode that you feel is beneficial, please send it to someone on your team. Maybe you're a doc and you're like, I'm going to try to convince my office manager that we should start recording meetings. Shoot this over to her. And then finally, if you find that this content is beneficial to you, I would really appreciate it if you could go to wherever you listen to podcasts. Most of you guys are on Apple or Spotify, and just leave me a review. Hopefully it's a good one. And I've just found now that the more reviews I get, the more I'm able to get this content in front of other people. And this podcast doesn't make any money, but it helps fulfill my purpose in life, which is to grow other people. And if I can grow dentists and office managers and director of operations and people like that, help them kind of flex their leadership muscle, then it's a life of purpose for me. So love you guys. Reach out if you have any questions or concerns, and I will talk to you later. Thank you. That wraps up another episode of the Dental Lighthouse Podcast. You have a choice today. Choose to be a lighthouse. Lighthouses are powerful and steadfast. They are beacons of light for others to reference when life gets turbulent. Go out into the world today and become a lighthouse for someone. Give more than you get. True joy comes from serving others. Start today. I'm Jason Tenori, your host. Thank you for listening to the Dental Lighthouse Podcast. For more information, podcast show notes, or links to anything that we have discussed today, please check out our website, thedentallighthouse.com. We would love to hear from you. If you would like to get on the show, please email us at podcast@thedentallighthouse.com.